I came from a family of 4 sons. 3 went on to college, and I was the youngest and had no place to go after high school. Played my last football game, and at that football game, there was a gentleman who was the head football coach, unbeknownst to me, at Pennsylvania Military College. I went home after the game, and I found this gentleman in my house having dinner with my mother and eating my mother's homemade pasta and drinking my father's homemade wine. His name was Woody Ludwig and happened to be the head coach at Pennsylvania Military College. And I lived in the town of Devon, which is a half-hour away from PMC, but I had never heard of the school. Didn't even know it existed. So I asked him, I said, what is PMC? It's Pennsylvania Military College. He said, you know, it's the West Point of the Keystone State. I said, well, I'm sorry, but I've never heard of it. He said, well, how would you like to play football for me? I said, well, I'm looking to go to college. He says, well, how about if I offer you a full scholarship? And I looked at him, I said, what? Yeah, he said, you come to play for me, I'll give you a full scholarship to Pennsylvania Military College. I said, I'll accept. And I indeed got a whole year of scholarship, full free. The only thing I had to pay for were the cuffs and the blouses and the collars inside the blouses. Everything else was totally free. So you see, when you hear this, you'll understand and know why I'm totally indebted to Pennsylvania Military College in so many ways. Because if it hadn't been for playing football and Woody Ludwig, God knows what I would have been today. That's how I got there, and that's why I chose PMC. Actually, PMC chose me. But I went to Fort Benning for the infantry training for the officers, and then from there they shipped me to Indiantown Gap. And I was there for 6 months training non-coms on hand-to-hand combat. Then I got orders for Korea by that time. That was in around May of '53, and I got orders for Korea, and I shipped out early June. And when I got to the depot, Repo Depot there in Busan, they divided up a whole bunch of us who were brand new second lieutenants, and half of us went to the units in Korea, and half of us went with the first cab, which was shipping up to Hokkaido, which is the northernmost island of Japan, and I went with them, and ended up there for 2.5 years, because I was Red Army. So I spent 2.5 years in Japan. I enjoyed the duty. That was great. The only thing I didn't like was being separated from my wife, who didn't like the military lifestyle of moving from place to place, and she knew about it because she had 4 brothers in the service during the Second World War. So I came back and got out of the active duty, went on the reserve status, and I ended up at PMC. Well, I got back from PMC in another strange way. The gentleman there who was the PMS&T and Commandant, Colonel Max Young, when I was a cadet, he was the Assistant PMS&T. And then later on, he became the PMS&T and Commandant of PMC. And we had been friends over the years, and we were in communication, and he told me, you know, I just took over this job, and I'm the Commandant there. He says, why don't you come aboard and work with me? So I went to talk with him, and he says, look, I want you on my staff, and I ended up there because of Colonel Max Young. And I felt very, very strange about doing that because I had just, graduated 3 or 4 years before, and I said, I don't feel comfortable going back there, being a recent graduate.
You got it.
And he said, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. So I was a little shaky at the beginning, but then I felt comfortable, mainly because of Max Young. I mean, he was really my mentor. Great guy, and I learned a lot from him, and he included me in all the decisions, everything that was done. That was one of the reasons why I was able to move in, because I learned so much from him. On-the-job training, so to speak, you know. Then he had to leave, and then Bennett came in, and things changed. Because when Bennett came in, it was 24/7 for me and 8 to 4 for him. I've been hearing so many tales these past few days from different guys, most of which hard to believe. I don't know if they're real or imagined,
or embellished. Most of them probably embellished. Some of the things I've been told that I said or did, I know I've done a lot and I've said a lot, but most of what I've heard these past few days, I don't remember saying or doing. I'm not suggesting that they're not true. I just don't remember. And it's probably because of my age. But there's one story I've told some of you, and I'd like to tell the whole group, because I'm not sure you're all aware of it. It's probably one of the most funniest and memorable stories that I can relate to. I don't know how many of you remember Mike Brusca. How many of you remember Mike? Raise your hands. Well, he was an unusual kind of guy. He had a tremendous sense of humor. I'd walk in and Mike would have a pot of coffee going, pouring coffee. Mike, that's a no-no. We can't have coffee pots or any electrical so forth, so I don't want to see it again. So sometime later, when I was making one of my rounds again, I visited Mike, knocked on the door, and somehow he knew it was me. When he opened the door, there's Mike standing with a pot of coffee and a cup, said, "Captain D, have a cup of coffee." You know, only Mike Brusca could do that and get away with it. He also had a pussycat in his room, which he kept in his laundry bag. You know, he kept the dirty laundry hanging in the closet. And somehow he must have trained the cat that it never meowed when we would go make an inspection. Unfortunately, the cat passed away. And somehow Ron Duchin got word of it. He was the battalion commander at the time. And Ron decided to call out the full battalion with a band at 2 o'clock in the morning and march up and down. Some of you were in that. Some of you were in that. And paraded up and down in celebration of the dead cat. I'm home fast asleep and I get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning that I better get on campus right away because the cops are there and all kinds of hell being raised. Monday morning, Brian and I are called to General McMorland's office. And he proceeded to chew us out a little bit, and he booted me out of the office, and he asked Ron to remain behind. And I waited outside for Ron to exit, and when he came out, I said, "Ron, what was that all about?" He said, "Well, Captain D, the General said to me, you showed outstanding signs of leadership, young man. Congratulations." That's how General McMorland hailed it. They're probably two of the most memorable kind of things that happened that I remember and can relate to. And both because of Mike Brusca.
My experiences at PMC, playing football, was very, very important because if it hadn't been for sports, I don't think I would have succeeded. I played guard.
Right guard?
Yeah, right guard on offense,
and defense.
middle guard on defense, and sometime middle linebacker, depending on the defense. In those days, we played both ways, you know. But my years through PMC were very, very exciting, and particularly my last 2 years. My involvement with Persian rifles started with my freshman year, and of course I was very much involved with that. Then I became captain of the football team my senior year, and I was company commander of Baker Company, and of course I was involved with Persian rifles. So those involvements gave me a lot of confidence and leadership abilities and the ability to cope with adversities and deal with people on different levels. Because when I left PMC, I went into education. I pursued graduate studies, got masters, and became certified and everything, and started in public education as a guidance counselor and moved up the ladder and took over a very large school district, high school in Kearney, New Jersey. And there were many, many challenges there with the teachers. I had to deal with unions a lot because I was heavily involved in negotiations and dealing with union and dealing with the staff, and of course dealing with the student population, which was quite diverse, and parents and board members. Oftentimes you're walking on eggs. I learned at PMC to control my temper and to sit back and assess people and listen. I became a good listener. I was able to massage my way through situations and make decisions and stand up for things I believed in, but yet not antagonized. So all those things, I think, fall back to PMC. And if it hadn't been for PMC, I wouldn't be near the man that I've been over the years, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You know as well as I do that there are many former cadets out there who never come and never participate in our gatherings for whatever reason. And I'm sure in their minds, those reasons are very valid. But I think they tend to forget that PMC was not only just a bunch of buildings, but more important, it's about a lot of young people like yourselves, who I remember so well. My wife used to say, they would come to us as babies and leave as men. I would like to believe, and I know it's true, that is exactly what has happened to every single one of you. You've become men that we could all be proud of. It's a privilege for me to be part of this group every year.
It's indeed a pleasure for Marie and I to be here and to be with you to celebrate your 50th anniversary, which is indeed quite an accomplishment. I know all of you quite well, and I can say without hesitancy, I'm sure, that most of you, if not all of you, know me quite well. We look forward to continue to be with you in the future, God willing. Having said that, from my wife's heart, my heart, to all of you, God bless.